The content featured in the following broadcast is purely for educational information purposes. It is based on real-life experiences and POV. Do not contact anyone featured or referred to in this video.
And please do your own research.
In this video, we're going to be looking at another YouTube sponsor of content creators, Scentbird, and how it's another money-making scheme for venture capitalists. So I want to shout out two other channels that have covered this topic already.
Whenever you look at an actual cult, they all start out like this. And then there's a lot of things that start out like this that never turn into cults. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I missing the part where it's a cult?
Now, I'm not saying you should write a million comments or get upset if someone still chooses to keep working with the brand, but I do think bringing this to light is one small way that we can check people with power and influence.
So they had mainly focused on Maria Nuris-Lamoff and how a lot of what she says on YouTube and her TikTok account is very questionable. But we will get to her in a minute because it's important to note that she was a co-founder. There are actually two male founders and another woman, although the company is listed as a Hispanic woman-founded, woman-led brand. So Scentbird began as a subscription perfume service, and to me perfume adverts have always been a little bit questionable.
Has bottled this primal essence. Wild musk oil for her, Cody musk cologne for him. One touch bears 1,000 quivers. Cody Wild Musk. Use it before you stalk.
What?
According to the other founder, Andrei Revov, the idea was that instead of people paying $100 for perfume, they would pay $17 per month, meaning you would probably spend more money on perfume. But I guess that's tech startup maths for you.
Instead of buying a 100 milliliter perfume bottle, spending $150 on it, not liking it, you can just go to Scentbird, spend $17 and try a new perfume every month.
Awesome.
Meanwhile, Maria claims in 2018 she went through a spiritual awakening. And in 2018, they raised $18.6 million as an investment from a company called Goodwater Capital, owned by Eric Kim, who, interestingly, sits on the board of directors at Scentbird. And so, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, this is how these companies work. Although Maria is the co-founder and CEO, the company is really owned by venture capitalists and exists for them to raise more money for their shareholders and the banks. And I found a video of Eric Kim speaking in 2015 in Korea at a conference about how he does exactly that.
So I think 13 years ago, we were really pitching the banks that had a side business in venture that was often associated with their debt or credit facilities. And so now you have very sophisticated local Korean VCs. You also have VCs that were from Silicon Valley that have set up shop here. You have companies like SoftBank as well that have created local presences here that are quite powerful. And so we've partnered with U.S. firms. We've partnered with local firms as well. I think that we are open to working with anyone that we think can really add value and be part of a great syndicate. So. We're very encouraged by what we see, and we hope that by these unicorns happening, that by these returns, that more capital will be poured into venture funds here locally.
So maybe talking about all this people might find boring, and that's why they focus on the ridiculous things Maria comes out with. And maybe that's just the general idea to distract our attention. But see, I like to follow the money. And I feel like it's these conferences where these bros that went to Stanford University, that's where the real cult lies. So just to be clear, a venture capital or VC is a form of financing, loaning money, where capital is invested into a company, a startup or small business, in exchange for equity in the company. To invest, VC firms employ general partners or GPs to raise funds from investors called limited partners, LPs. Both the GP's firms and the LP gain if the company does well. And as I've mentioned before, they use the investment to build their teams, expand offerings, and reach milestones, not on improving the quality of the business. And VC is part of a larger, more complex part of the financial industry known as private markets. But you don't worry about that. You don't need to know about all of that.
All this other crazy stuff we do to give people an edge, a lot of which we kind of don't/can't talk about. And so I think that's part of the reason we don't market it as well, is a bunch of the stuff we do is meant to be secret. I don't know how you market that. And there's just a lot of data that we keep secret unless you're in YC, and that is going to stay that way.
This is why it's a little dangerous. This is a dangerous thing, I'll say. We've been accused of being a mafia, and
we're not a mafia, right? We don't break anyone's legs or anything like that.
But it's not completely false, right? Like if you're made in the mafia, you do get privileges that normal people don't, right?
And so back to Scentbird and how they bring in more capital by expanding the business. Well, they purchased Drift Car Air Freshener, expanding into household products and also skincare. And so this is where Maria and TikTok come in, because they're offering a digital tool which they want young people to sign up to. Quote, the younger consumer is still searching for brands and products to trust. And so here we run into two issues, and we've not even got to Maria and some of the dangerous misinformation she likes to talk about, mainly with her eyes shut. In 2019, they were sued by Lush for a trademark infringement over a product called Lush Gold, which Lush thought was an infringement of intellectual property rights and would mislead people into thinking it was a collaboration. And then there was the 2020 data breach, where nearly 6 million dates of birth, email addresses, genders, names and passwords were exposed. And given they're a data company, you'd kind of think that was the one job they could get right. If I was being really cynical, I might almost think they harvested the data to potentially sell it. Narislamov has a background in computer science and IT. And Eric King, the founder and managing partner of Goodwater Capital, who invested $18 million and is on the board of directors, also has a background in cognitive science and previously headed business development for Neopoly, a mobile phone startup that focused on key technologies enabling touch and video for first-generation smartphones, and also co-founded BioMe Medica, an advanced joint technology company. Both companies were spun out of Stanford University. And guess what else was spun out of Stanford University? It's the evolution of the personality test. Today, worth roughly $500 million with an annual growth rate estimated at 10%. The Stanford Binet intelligence scales were revised by Lewis Madison Terman in the early 20th century at the Stanford School of Education. And he was an American psychologist, academic, and proponent of eugenics. Which leads us back to Maria and the online quizzes that are hosted on all of the products of Scentbird's websites. Talking about genetics is one of her favourite topics.
DNA is going to change. The human DNA is going to change to such a degree. What is the new type of human that is that we're paving the way for? That type of human, that new human race, that evolved human species, humanoid, I should say, maybe more so than human, is going to be a solar race. It's going to be a solar species. That is why we're being bombarded with all these solar codes right now, not for nothing, you guys. We're being prepared. Our DNAs are being activated.
I don't know if she's got her eyes shut, so it's easier for her to speak with such conviction about things that make so little sense. But I think she claims it's like getting in tune with her inner spirit or something like that.
The other thing that people talk about is she really does this like what your hair color means, what your eye color means.
Today we're talking about how your hair color impacts your energy. You know, there are a few folks that have been skeptical about this whole situation. A lot of brown-haired people are very heart-led instead of intellect-led. So it's hard for people with black hair color to be intuitive in decision making. They're also not as good at discernment. Things like dancing and moving their body comes very naturally. Things like sports come very naturally. Actually, with a lot of brown-haired people, there are also people that are very easily excitable. They also have addictive personalities. So a lot of them kind of like fall by the wayside. A lot of, I'm going to get so much heat for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of, like I said, an addictive personality. So a lot more brown-haired people are likely to be addicted to things like alcohol, for instance. Let's talk about the blonde-haired people usually feel things like deeper. It's like they have 10 layers deep in their heart. Really impressive innovation coming and like just really avant-garde, like at the forefront, like trend-setting stuff sometimes comes out of the blondes. And you're like, wow, this is fantastic. I don't know how you did it. Redheads are a little bit like rebels and rule breakers by definition. The challenge of the redheads is their health.
On the shadow side of this, of the brown, you may be prone to quitting, so not taking things to fruition, right? Brown-eyed people have a lot of stamina. They have higher than normal pain threshold. A lot of extraterrestrials would have blue eyes. Blue-eyed people may feel more connected to God. You're very intellectual. Actually, the blue-eyed people are very connected to the intellect. That's your air, right? Connection. So you're very brainy. Blue-eyed people are very likely to have depression. Now, brown-eyed people are the most likely to have anxiety. So there you have it. It's not like, it is what it is.
Now, Maria, you know all of that is not factual. That is not true. That is all nonsense. And you claim to have a university degree in mathematics and computer science. And I know you're trying to market yourself as a spiritual guru, but I think you're trying to target addicts. People who are lost, people who aren't thinking straight. Maybe racists, bringing Hitler into the conversation and advocating for him. But this has nothing to do with spirituality and healing. In my experience, anyway.
You're going to get so many Rotten Tomatoes for this. It's like, how dare you blame the victim, Maria?
Yeah, please don't.
The only way you align with an abuser is because your higher self has that inside of them to even align you with.
She went there. She said cancer is a byproduct of people not pursuing false ideals, not toxins. These all could be very triggering subjects. And then she has a theory about miscarriages. And I think she does it deliberately to target vulnerable people. There's a lot more I found online about how they built their influencer network using their data to make it look like their own database. And I was amazed at how little the fee was.
Scentbird really takes the cake. They have emailed me for the past probably year asking me to do another Scentbird video. They've offered to send me a couple of their fragrances in the little 8ml decants, like I care. And they upped the ante here recently by offering me $100 plus some of their decants, or travel atomizers, whatever you want to call them.
But that is another whole road we can go down. And I don't want to make the video too long, so as the channel name suggests, please go do your own research. And they did that to make the company look more valuable and to attract more investment. And they're going to keep pushing out this type of content because they want to attract more people to click on the link and insert more data. And they're going to keep on doing that so they can say they've got more users and they can keep on getting investment.
Energy exchange for this is going to be $250. That's what Spirit wants to charge for this. It's not really me, because it's really Spirit and the universe that's working with you. It's not really me.
So on their latest round of investment, they got $820K, which is still a lot, but not compared to 18 million. And that was in 2023. And that was by a company called the Garage Syndicate. And the Garage Syndicate is co-founded by a guy called Sergey Mozunov. And guess what? He went to Stanford University. And he co-founded Neobank. Neobank for migrants. B9. Oh yeah, it's an AI-powered banking app targeting people that don't speak English, offering payday loans with a monthly fee of $9.99 or $19.99 a month, which is non-refundable. Can't get a bank account, but they've got B9, good old B9 helping them out. What could go wrong when Sergey sees them as an opportunity? Getting all their personal data.
My name is Courtney Phillips, and I have been with B9 for like a month now.
Right now, B9 is my primary bank.
Of course, with today's technology, direct deposit is a must as well, and B9 offered it.
You couldn't make it up, could you? And what does this have to do with Scentbird? Well, I really don't know, other than I'm sure it's something, because these people do not invest in companies unless there's a reason. And when I look at Sergey Muzanov's bio, he's listed founder at Venture GPT. Well, I'm going to have to look into that. But he makes it very clear why he's started this company. And isn't it odd that he wants to help immigrants get a bank account when Maria is an advocate for Hitler? But I guess he's not bothered. And in this post, he says potential investors need data presented to them and might be guided by indicators related to monthly active users and daily active users, as the entire profitability of the company is based on the client's involvement and their actions. So that is really who is behind Scentbird. And if that isn't a reason to not use it, or indeed the banking app, I don't know what is. He's making money literally out of putting them into debt. And he will sell out at the earliest opportunity as long as he makes money for himself and the banks.
Scentbird is bringing 6 exclusive scent collections inspired by Jen's love journey this season.
Here's a sneak peek into the Roseworthy scents.
Well, that's the end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. And before you use or work with any business, just take a look at who is actually behind it and who is causing the financial crisis we are currently in. A big thank you to the person who helped me with the research on this video. And if you liked it, please give it a like and maybe subscribe. And in the meantime, you can still take care of yourself and each other. So I'll see you on the next one.